Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Asking Humans. I'm Brian Antel, joined today by Liz Ngonzi. Liz, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful week and hoping your audience is as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Liz, not only are you an Ask Humans ambassador, you are a friend. I think we first met in some preparation before Imagine AI a couple of years back, and you really do so much with AI. You're the CEO of the right here, the American Society for AI, the
No,
International.
I'm a board member.
We're
Okay, you want to go back?
cutting that out. You ready? So we're
Look,
going to go through everything again.
okay. Do you hear
You're
anything
the
or
CEO of the. I know it's the Impact, but I need to get the exact name right. The
the
International Social
international
Impact
social
Institute.
impact? I know it's a lot. It's just
Gotcha. Yeah, quite a mouthful. All the
I know I had wanted to abbreviate it to VISII, but then I didn't want people to think it was ISIS.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, so I've got to come up with something. Anyway,
All right, we'll kick it off again. Ready?
okay.
Three, two, one. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Asking Humans. I'm Brian Antel, joined today by Liz Ngonzi. Liz, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's so wonderful to be with you. And I'm happy to be with your audience. Hello, everybody.
For sure. Liz, not only are you a friend and an Ask Humans ambassador, but you are somebody who does so much in the world of AI and in terms of education as well. You know, you're the CEO of the International Social Impact Institute, and I could list off different positions and boards that you're on so many other organizations. But I guess I'll just kick it over to you to give a brief intro of yourself. Talk about what you do in terms of your contributions to AI, your speaking, your teachings, and kind of how all of that is works in concert.
Sure. So first of all, I'm excited to be part of this because I want to share with your audience why I really love Ask Humans. I had an opportunity to meet Zach at Imagine AI Live, and I saw him present, and I saw Ask Humans. I was like, wow, I was so blown away. I'm like, this is amazing. As someone who does a lot of research, as someone who does a lot of speaking and the like, I immediately was like, this is really powerful. And so I kind of pulled him aside. I was like, we need to talk. He's like, yeah. So we went to lunch and we started chatting. And my first question was why? I always wanted to know why. And he explained to me why this was really important for him to create Ask Humans, and of course the whole team, including you, that's come on board. And it was really to provide people with a voice, right? So the voice of those people who are seldom heard. Within the context that I work in, and a lot of times I've done a lot of work in international development. Typically, what happens is the people who are being provided services to are never included in the evaluations of projects or even in coming up with solutions. But Ask Humans actually facilitates that. The very fact that you can literally record a voice note, and pretty much at this point, everybody in the world who has a phone knows how to, and that's all over the world, by the way. People have voice notes, or they can type. And so I already saw that accessibility feature and the fact that it's multilingual, I thought was really, really powerful. So I just want to start there to explain why it is that I decided I really wanted to champion, this Ask Humans platform, and I've integrated so many different parts of the work that I do, and I'd love to be able to share a presentation that I created, and folks can have a link to it. So don't worry, you'll be able to click on things and look deeper, which first of all gives a sense of who I am and all the different pieces, how they all come together. And then I'm going to have 3 use cases on how I've used AI, Ask Humans in my work, and then how people can get in touch. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. You are the ultimate Ask Humans power user.
Thank you. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and tell me if you can see it.
Yep, perfect.
Okay. All right. So this is called Amplifying Voices with Ethical AI. And you see how Ask Humans is there. So I'm like a super AI person. So this is actually created, this image is you can see it's my likeness. It's created using Flux AI, Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, and Canva Magic Studio. And Ask Humans is superimposed to the back because I really wanted to show an image that showed the voice of people speaking, right? And so that's so you can understand who I am. and I'm founder and CEO of the International Social Impact Institute. Like you said, I teach at NYU, and I'm also a proud ambassador for Ask Humans. So let me pull all the pieces together for you, Brian, so that your audience can understand who I am. So I help others harness AI to amplify impact across the globe through these roles. So first and foremost, like you mentioned, I'm founder and CEO of the International Social Impact Institute. Through this, which I founded in 2020, we have had 40,000 people go through our event. I've trained 10,000 people globally on generative AI since 2023, and we facilitated over 150 partnerships. So that's really what we do. And some of those partnerships have been with Ask Humans. I'm also an award-winning adjunct assistant professor at NYU, where I've been for the last 16 years. I teach 2 courses currently that are under the name AI for Impact, both of which feature Ask Humans, and I've developed a lot of digital storytelling courses over the years. I also help people access AI in my roles, in my volunteer roles. So at the American Society for AI, I'm a board member as well as founding ethics chair. And then at Cornell University, one of my alma maters, I sit on the Cornell University Council, the President's Council of Cornell Women, and I also serve as an advisor for Cornell Tech in their studio program, working with students who are developing tech, a lot of AI kind of platforms or businesses. And so these are some of the various roles. I also speak globally. This was a really fun one, Brian. I was invited to speak at NASDAQ on a panel, and they do this neat thing where they put your photograph like on their building for a couple seconds, take a photo, and they give it to you as a gift. So that's that example. I'm also a global strategist working with organizations and companies and institutions around the world, helping them to really understand how to integrate AI, if could be Ask Humans or other forms of AI into what they do. And in my role at American Society for AI, I've actually originated and I'm currently co-leading the development of the AI for Humanity platform. We're bringing together 35 of our members from across the globe to help to write about how AI can benefit society rather than just systems, right? So how do we implement it? How do we develop it? And it's along 4 different pillars, and that's really exciting. And then as an AI innovator, so this is a screenshot of my Ngonzi GPT, which I launched in April, and this was really for me to be able to share with people my last sort of 15 or so years of thought leadership and my frameworks and the like that you can speak to, Brian. You can access it, just Google it. You can speak to it, you can chat with it, and to give you a sense of some of the work that I've done and contextualize like things like, how would I integrate Ask Humans into the work that I'm doing, whatever. So you can speak to it rather than me if you can't find me. So does that kind of give you a sense for AI ties all these roles together, but it's always about helping others to harness it, to amplify their impact, and it's, across the globe.
100%. And I think it's safe to say that you do a lot.
Yeah.
looking at the graphic, it's, teacher, user, evangelist, you really cover the whole gamut.
Right. And so I hope that the roles that I play, to amplify impact can inspire new possibilities for your audience's own journeys. Okay. So let's start with my first use case. And this was the Mensa Foundation colloquium. And Brian, you asked me to go step by step. I didn't go into every micro step, but I think this can give them a really good overview. And each one of these cases sort of highlights different elements. So this was the Mensa Foundation colloquium where I served as the opening keynote speaker, and then I was the closer for this session. So it was like an afternoon. And the first thing that I did, step 1, was during my presentation, when I was about to finish up my opening keynote, I wanted to hear from the Mensa members who were in the audience. And I launched that Ask Human study. And as you can see, I had a QR code, I had the questions written there, and I spoke to them. I said, listen, we want to be able to hear from you, making it easy for you to share your challenges and aspirations, which would then help to inform the way the foundation moves forward. So based on that, we get to step 2, and they responded to us in between, like right after my session, and in between that and the closing session. Ask Humans allowed for honest, barrier-free participation, capturing both text and voice feedback from the audience members. And then I was able to take everything, pull everything together and create these 2 slides that you see on step 3 that provided analysis in the form of the SWOT analysis that came from AskHumans. And then those responses revealed some powerful themes and ideas that then translated into the slide that's in the front, which helped to guide the Mensa Foundation in shaping future initiatives and driving member growth and community impact, right? We were able to do this in a relatively short period of time. And I think that's important because a lot of times I've dealt with research or researchers where you have to wait for someone to do something over a long period of time. And it's a very, very labored process as well. Whereas this was really, really easy for us to be able to immediately get those insights, and not only in front of the audience, but also in front of the leadership of the foundation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So let's move on to my second example. This is with an organization called the Barre Scholars. And the Barre Scholars is a cohort-based group. It's a gap year program. And they have a cohort of about 70 young scholars from across the globe, really incredible young leaders. And I was invited to address them and run a workshop for them in what they call their morning program. And so the first thing that we did in this particular instance, we administered the Ask Humans study in advance of the session because I wanted it to help inform the session content. And so in step one, you can see that, these scholars from across the globe were able to contribute feedback about, it has to do with sort of like their insights related to AI and the like. And so what I loved about it is, Ask Humans is multilingual. So I just want to mention that. We go to step two. I was then able to take the output from that study, and one of my first slides in my presentation was, here's what you said to us, right? And here's a sort of key reflections they provide us. I blurred them because I want to protect their data, but basically we were able to surface some ideas, right? So these conversations helped us to discover fresh perspectives on creativity that, amongst these young people, and also in ethical leadership. And then the subsequent slide was the session objectives that I developed based on an understanding of what the kind of interests and challenges these young people had. So it shaped the session and action steps and directly informed the live discussion, the mini workshop, and the interactive demo on AI. Now, I know that this is within the context of an event, but I think, if you think about if you're working in customer research or client research, or if you're working with students or in different contexts, this kind of feedback loop can be really, really, really beneficial. Does that make sense, Brian?
Oh, totally. I mean, you're hitting on everything from an event perspective and kind of going deeper into like the customer research, as you said. Like, just for example, I was just at an event this week, and two things you said was this, I'll call it speed to report or speed to analysis.
Yes.
Where the event organizer said to me, how great is it that we don't have to wait a week to produce a report on what everybody said? Not only did we not wait a week, but we actually produced multiple reports over the course of the day to drive that day's programming and ensuing discussions. So not only we're not waiting a week, but we're actually just waiting a few minutes and actually iterating on the fly at the event with that, which is fantastic.
It's fantastic, and it's really important for organizations or companies or whoever trying to make decisions in real time. It really helps to facilitate that, and that's important because when you've gathered people together, there is so much energy, and you lose momentum if you've got to wait a week or month or whatever, because by that time they've moved on to the next thing. So I really do love this. I'm going to take you to the third key use case, which was at Cornell Tech just a couple of weeks ago. And this was during their Disability and Access in Tech and AI Summit. And so in this particular instance, we were trying to center disability and inclusion. And this is step one is a LinkedIn post that I shared with folks with a QR code and a little bit about what our panel was all about. So this was really trying to get people interested in coming to the event, but also to participate and have their voices included in the session. A similar kind of information was sent to the registrants through Cornell Tech itself. And really what this was all about was gathering broad input and creating awareness. And we did also capture insights on site so that to reinforce that. But what was really, really cool is, like, if you've seen step two, once they clicked from the QR code to the study, they literally were just able to get to this very simple page, choose the language that they wanted to respond in, and then answer like 5 questions or so that were really quick for them to go through. And enabled us to obtain candid thoughts about shaping technology and policy for people with disabilities. What I then was able to do is take all of that, and use it to not only develop the run of show, but also the questions for the panelists, because I was the moderator. And so I thought it was really, really important. And then you take it even one step further. After I'd asked a couple of questions, now I said, okay, here's the QR code again. I would love to hear from you live. And we're able to do that. I've given you a link to the actual video itself so people can see me administering it live. I think that might be helpful for your audience. But here's another neat thing that happened that you won't see here. So after the panel was over and we'd gotten more insights from people, the organizer asked if I could summarize. There were concurrent panels, and he asked the other panel chair and I to summarize our panels. And the other my counterpart went first, and as he was making his sort of summary, what I did was I downloaded the report from AskHumans to my desktop, and I uploaded into ChatGPT into Liz and Ngonzi GPT. I said, you know where I am, because it already had the thread of all the content related to this event. And I said, I need a few bullet points summarizing this the session that we just had, and it was able to do the session that we had and the insights that we garnered from this, and it was able to do it really quickly, and I read it right away, and everyone was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, it's magical. But you see how wonderful that is?
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely love your usage of AskHumans, because your whole thing is people and AI together as a force multiplier.
Exactly.
And when you take a step back and think what you did with this Cornell Tech use case in specific, you got their perspectives before the event and during the event.
Yes.
And in an ideal world, in a world without AI, that is like you going around and having a conversation with everyone before the event and during the event. And that's like that's like what you want to happen. Like, again, before AI, before all this was possible, it was like, I wish I could just talk to everybody before and like take everything they want to see in the programming and implement it. And then I also want to see how they're enjoying the event or whatever live as well. And there was no solution to that before AI. And that's why you're such a great user of AskHumans, and you use it to like its fullest extent and get the most out of it, because you were like, you recognize I have a tool here that can simulate all of what I just said before the conference, during a conference, after a conference, report out on a conference in real time. And I think that's just really the power of the platform in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Thank you. And I want to share that there were people so I did have a call with the panelists in advance. So I had their insights as well. So I recorded that call and with their permission. So I downloaded that Otter, the Otter report, the transcript, and I combined it so that we're getting both, right? And I tend to use multiple tools and stuff, but I do want to hear from the various stakeholders. But I don't have time to write all those notes. Like, I was able to be focused on the conversation with them because I wasn't worried about recording it. In the same way, I don't have to be limited to who I can actually physically get to get insights from, but I can get them online. I can get them from wherever else. And I think that's a very powerful thing that's possible with AskHumans. So I will just let people stay connected with me. We can get into our program, but on LinkedIn, you can go to our website, and also I teach AI for Impact. I'm teaching on November 21st. If this is airing before that in New York City, 9 to 5, you will be able to be part of my AI for Impact course, where you can come with any project that you want to work on and to engage your stakeholders. AskHumans is absolutely part of it. It's always part of the course. So you'll be able to work on that. So this is not theoretical. This is action oriented and definitely impactful. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then you and I are going to start chatting.
For sure. And I just want to put an exclamation point on what you just said about your teaching later in November. That is not just for students, like any
No,
business
it's for
leader.
professional. I teach professionals.
Yes,
Yes.
I want to make that clear.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Any business leader listening to this, seeing this on LinkedIn, on YouTube, this is for you.
Yes.
To engage your audience to a deeper level using AI, and from a great instructor like Liz.
Right. Yeah, no. So people come in, like they might have, like I've had people come in who were working on proposals, or someone was working on a business idea. Another person was working on an idea to present within NYU. She actually got a promotion from it, which was really cool. So it's really, what is it that you want to convey in terms of storytelling, whether it's in the business setting, or it's a nonprofit, or it's in your career, and you come with that. And I'm going to show you the various tools. And then you'll be able to not only work on that particular project, but you go home with an amazing toolkit that you can leverage whenever you need to be able to communicate, or to whatever it is you're trying to do, rather than sort of sitting here and being afraid of AI. I love to just have people jump in and experience it and understand that it can be super valuable to the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I just had to make that clear, because the first time I heard that you taught,
Yeah.
I was thinking of students. I think that's where my mind goes, and many minds go. And you were like, no, I teach professionals how to use
Yeah.
this.
That's true. No, thank you. Yeah.
Not
No,
only
thank you.
professionals, but
Yeah.
leaders, but very
Yes.
impactful and high profile people. So
Yeah,
highly speak
exactly.
about that.
Exactly. Those are the people I speak to. And I don't have a problem with traditional students, as you saw with various scholars and
Yeah.
stuff. But this particular program is for professionals and leaders.
Definitely. Well, thanks for all of that on Ask Humans. Super powerful. But I want to turn to you as a
Yes.
thought leader, for kind of this next part.
Mhm.
I think anyone who pops open your LinkedIn or just views any of your talks immediately comes away with ethical AI being central to everything that you do. So with that, because honestly, if you ask me what ethical AI is, I would probably have a different definition than most. And I think everybody has their own unique definition, and some may be closer to what you think, and some may be much farther away. So really, how do you define it for people using platforms like an Ask Humans, and how does accessibility tie into all of that?
Yeah. So I think for me, it always starts with humans first, right? I fundamentally look at this technology as helping to facilitate what humans want to accomplish, right? It's not about the technology first. The technology there is to facilitate. So why I love Ask Humans was not because I was like, oh, it's a really cool platform, which it is. It was because I understood the intent behind it, and I understood the unlock for the work that I do, the people I serve, the communities and the companies that I like. So I always start from there, and that's where you start, as being human centered, and understanding that it's supposed to first be to the benefit of people. And so, like within the context of, let's say, the Cornell Tech Summit, that was looking at how could we address technology that helps to people who have disabilities, whether it's making their voices included in decision making and policy making, like my panel did. There was accessible technology that was also showcased and the like. But it's about, how do you give people access to these tools? That's a very important part of this. Ethical AI is also making sure that you don't, use people's data inappropriately, that you don't harm people, that you're not discriminatory, that you're not hurtful, right? It's like, if I were to define it to a child, it'd be like that you're actually kind, and that you're not like mean, right? If we're going to really very, very, very simple terms. But it also means that when I'm speaking to business leaders, organizational leaders, institutional leaders, I always say, I'm not going to be the person that tells you, get rid of everybody and just use AI for everything, because that doesn't work. My methodology, in fact, is 1 + 1 + AI = 10. And what that is the first one would be like you or I, right? So an individual, +1. So it'd be like the rest of your team, or insights from lots of different resources, or lots of different people, or your own multitude of resources, plus AI as an amplifier. And that equals 10, or exponential impact. And what I mean by that is that any one of those three elements alone is okay. But if you combine all three together, you can have much greater impact than you can alone. And so what I always say is that if you, as an organization or a company or any kind of leader, are trying to make decisions about how to integrate AI into the work that you're doing, first you need to understand who your stakeholders are. You need to understand what the pain points are. You need to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, and it's only then that you can then go back and say, okay, here's some of the solutions that could work, and let's figure out how we work with the stakeholders to implement this so that we can make this work for us, rather than only these guys are going to do it and everybody else is kept out. And by the way, this would be a great way for us to cut headcount. Now, I get profitability. That's not even what I'm trying to say. But the smarter play is understanding that the technology can help to enhance the human potential, and it can in the humans, but it won't necessarily replace them. And there are things like relationships, there's experience, the things that are more nuanced that you can't really remove. And that's why I love Ask Humans, because you get to hear from people and do sentiment analysis in their own voice or what have you. So those are some of the different ways that I look at ethical AI. It's also, I mean, like, not violating people's data, like I mentioned to you. So privacy is very, very important. Making sure that, if we're making decisions about not only developing any of these platforms or any of these models, that we're taking into consideration that there are real people who are going to use them, whether it's kids, people who may have mental issues or whatever, that we're putting in place the right guardrails to protect them, right? Because while I'd say the onus is on me as an adult to be able to say, well, if I have an issue, I probably want to go to speak to a therapist rather than going into a platform. If there's a kid using it or someone who's not necessarily that stable, as a company, you need to be sort of aware of how to monitor to make sure that things are okay, not violating people's privacy, but just having a sense of at which point do you need to make decisions about, when this is a dangerous situation.
Right. I would take your definition of ethical AI and put it into two different buckets. One is people first,
Yes.
human centered, and then also in terms of like the guardrails, having it be like protective.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of exposure to industry leaders,
Yes.
institutional leaders, and do you see this coming through in the implementation at a large scale throughout all of these leading organizations, or like what does this look like?
I think honestly everyone's trying. I mean, this is early days, so let's put everything into context. ChatGPT, right, which is the the sort of most public version of generative AI that people are familiar with, literally turns 3 on November 22nd, 2025, right? So we're talking about nascent stages of generative AI, although other forms of AI have been around for a long time and we've interacted with it, right? But this is new. So when we talk about implementation within corporations or in organizations and the like, we're still sort of figuring it out, right? I think what's challenging is that when you do an implementation of, like, let's say, an ERP system or a different kind of technology, you kind of have the tech folks who work on it, right? The thought thinking has been the tech folks do it, and then like it's sort of implemented from there, which
then you manage the change after.
manage to change, right? But in fact, because we're talking about the changing nature of even how we work and then the changing nature of our institutions that this facilitates, we actually need to bring the people issues in first.
Yep.
And they're not issues, but we need the people considerations first, and then work that way. And so I had a conversation with a CEO who heard me speak somewhere. He's like, "Okay, Liz, I've heard all of you speak, and I think this sounds great." He goes, I'm going to call my team and say, we've got to implement AI. Where do I start? He's like, which one should I implement first? I'm like, that's not the question you should be asking. The question is, where are your pain points? Yeah. You need to understand what your pain points are within your team, within your customers, or whoever it is that you serve, to be able to then understand what solution might work, but also who needs to be part of forming that solution and evaluating it and implementing it and then evaluating it and the like.
Yeah. You mentioned before your 1 + 1 + AI
equals
10. Really interesting to me. I see it all over your LinkedIn. I see it getting a ton of engagement. This framework, walk us through what it means for leaders in a practical case. I mean, you just touched on it a lot, where
Yeah.
you have one, the person, and then the other one can be a group of stakeholders. Then your AI is obviously an AI tool. What does this look like from like a leadership consideration? I mean,
So what I'm trying to say is the humans in this situation have insights, right? They have experience, they have relationships that you can't very easily sort of replicate and through. I mean, someone may say, well, yeah, you can upload documents and things like that, right? There is knowledge that you can, but there's something about the relationship that you and I have that cannot be replicated through any kind of a system. And so understanding that any person on your team is valuable in and of themselves, but they're also valuable within the context of the team they work in and within the context of the stakeholders they all work with, right? So the relationships that are there, that's why the second one is important, because they're insights and relationships that need to work together. Then what you do is whatever it is you're trying to facilitate in those relationships, whether it's selling or you're trying to raise money or you're trying to help people be more effective on their jobs or you're trying to serve people in a community, AI can help you to say surface any issues. Like AskHumans can help you to surface any issues with any of your stakeholders that can then help you to more effectively serve them, right? So you can't get that information without the people.
right.
And also once you get those insights, like I was showing you, like I got the report, someone has to interpret that, right? I mean, the insights are great, but my experience is important and necessary to be able to kind of provide insight further and how we can act on those particular the insights that have been provided to us by AskHumans. So that's why it's necessary to always have the human in the loop, because there's something about how I'm going to read that based on my experience level and the relationships that I've got and the way I can convey it that cannot be replicated.
That's super important. I mean, think about this. You give the same AskHumans dashboard or insights board to two different organizations, two different cultures, two different, just really like and differently engaged organizations. Right. They're going to do two totally different things with
Yes.
that information. Even though the information is saying the same thing, it could be the same exact feedback that you got, but there's a different action plan for both.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So now going back to your question about for leaders, how you look at this. So I'm a proponent for saying, okay, why don't you focus, instead of slashing employees, focus on how you can leverage your existing headcount or people that work there and 10x them.
Right.
By helping them work collaboratively and then also using these tools as an amplifier. That's the way I'm teaching this, and that's how I want people to understand. Because the insights one can get, let's say from AskHumans, that can help to inform new products, that can inform new services or new ways to engage whoever our stakeholders are, can actually move the needle in terms of our growth, our innovation, and our profitability.
Yeah, for sure. And Liz, just to kind of pivot here, because you have another framework that I'm really interested in, the Shine storytelling framework.
Yeah.
I mean, you are, again, if you go to Liz's LinkedIn, whoever's watching this, you will see Liz is quite the storyteller. Liz, I mean, you have so much good content. You speak everywhere, and you are always using AI as a supplement to what you're doing to really make what you're saying, what you're presenting, even more like augmented, right? So just describe in detail the Shine story framework that you kind of deploy.
Okay, so let me start and give you, again, let me give the philosophy, right? So as children, this is like as if you were in my class, in the session, whatever, I would say this to you. As children, the way we learned about who we are, about ourselves, about our community, our world, it was through stories, right? Someone read books to us. We read books when we were able to, right? Because we are fundamentally storytellers. That is what society is all about. But somehow we think that in order for us to speak to our clients, in order for us to speak to our donors or our employees, whatever, that we've got to like use all this jargon and very technical and stuff. But actually, you want to use stories because that's what people relate to. I mean, you and I were speaking about movies and we're speaking about books, TV shows, and even art, right? That's a form of story. And so I'm fundamentally a storyteller, and I help people tell stories, because if you can tell a story effectively, then people can connect in. And you have to have a framework, right? So whether you're working on your resume, or you have a cover letter, or you're working on an ad, or you're working on a proposal or whatever, there is a format to be able to tell that story. And I happen to have a framework that I created, which is called Shine. And the first is story. The S is story. So what's your core message, right? H is hook, which is who do you want to draw in? Like, who's your kind of target audience for this? Impact is why does it matter and who does it benefit? And then N is the narrative, right? You need to have a real logical flow for how you make that story like relatable and compelling and drawing me in. And ultimately, once you've got me in and I'm excited, everything, tell me what you want to do. That's engagement, right? You'd have to have some kind of a call to action. So what happens is, a lot of times, if you look at when even something as simple as you keep mentioning LinkedIn, people will write these great posts, but then they don't tell you what they want you to do. Right? They just post, and I'm like, okay, well, that was interesting, but like, you missed an opportunity to tell me what you want me to do. So that's really what it does. So like the same, like they say, like in sales, ask for the business. So that's just a way for you to frame the way you tell a story. So that instead of you having to be like the master storyteller that you may not necessarily be, it gives you a guide to how to sort of think about this.
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like the E, engagement, is the hardest part, and the part that's often lost, especially in an age of like rapidly advancing technology and AI. And I mean, the one thing I love about AskHumans, just to kind of tie it to AskHumans, is like, we are the E, we are the engagement. When clients are using AskHumans, they are looking to drive business outcomes at the end of the day, and there's a story there. And the big E there for us is engagement. What are your customers saying? What are your members saying? And then the decisions that they make from that data, and that data really is just a story. We like this, we dislike this, we want to see more of this.
Yeah.
That's the engagement with AskHumans versus, just a traditional survey where it's like 1 through 10 and thumbs up, thumbs down, strongly agree, strongly disagree. It's static, and it doesn't really empower any voices.
Yep. And because ultimately, if you're going to do anything, any kind of study, it's because you're trying to facilitate something, right? You want insights because there's an action that you want someone else to take, or that you want to be able to take, that is relevant to whomever your audience is. And so that is very, very important. And so again, that's thinking about the human first, right? Going there and then working from there. But, a lot of this has to do things like, it's like drawing people in is what's in it for me. If you can't tell me what's in it for me, I don't care if you got all these great features, functions, and benefits that you think are great. If they don't relate to me, I don't care. Right. So you need to be able to understand your audience and understand what's important to them, and communicate accordingly, which means you need insights about what moves the needle for them, and what their pain points are, what they want, so that then you can act accordingly.
100%. And I guess that kind of segues right into really one of the last things I wanted to ask you is, I mean, AI is advancing at such a rapid pace. It seems like there's actually statistics. Like, there are like hundreds, if not thousands, you probably know the statistic better than I do, of new tools every
3,000 a month.
3,000 that come to market every month.
Yeah.
So that's 36,000 new tools per year, which is really like insane to think about. So there's a lot of questions that people have, whether they're business leaders, whether they're just somebody who's using AI. So really, I want to ask you if you could have one takeaway, one core message that the audience gets from Liz Ngonzi in this kind of era of AI powered engagement. What is it?
Start with your pain points. Start with what you're trying to accomplish. And then decide what you want, what it is that you want to be able to implement. And that means that you need insights. So AskHumans is a really great place to go to get insights in terms of maybe what's going on within your team. So if you want to understand, like, what, if you have a company and you're trying to understand what are the challenges folks are facing right now as we're changing, as the workplace is changing, as business is changing. A really great way to do that is to hear from them. Don't make assumptions in the boardroom or in the C-suite. Hear from them. And this is a really great way to hear from them. And people like to be heard from, right? They want to feel that their voice matters. So that's the first thing I would say is definitely use it in that way. And even, your external stakeholders, so internal, external stakeholders, hear from them, and then make decisions about how you want to move forward to implement whatever it is you want to. But always start with the voice of the customer, the voice of the internal stakeholder, because if you don't have that, what's going to happen is, and we've seen this, a lot of AI implementations are failing because they're not addressing those fundamentals around people, because it's very hard for people to change their behaviors. They will change. You need to understand what's going on to them to understand how to engage with them. But if you just make assumptions and you just sort of have a top-down approach, you're not going to be successful. You're going to spend it's going to waste a lot of money, a lot of time. You're going to have sort of disenchanted employees, which ultimately hurts your customers and ultimately hurts your business. So it's very, very important to hear from your internal and external stakeholders before moving forward. Particularly at this time, it's a really good time to hear from folks because things are moving so fast and it's a very confusing time. But amazingly, there's probably someone who you otherwise wouldn't hear from, who probably has been working on something great or may have some insights that could be really beneficial at this time, because the people who can shine at this time, or the people who can be valuable in a company right now, may not be the ones who've always been, maybe completely new people. So it's important to be able to use this time to listen.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? Kind of just hit me with something so complex and technical in some cases as AI.
Yeah.
It's really the basic business principles, and really, like, when you think about it, not to get too deep, but like life principles that, win the day. Like hearing from people before jumping to conclusions and making assumptions, whether that's, again, just like in life or with your typical, like you said, ERP implementation. Like hearing from your stakeholders is such a basic concept, and something that sometimes gets lost in the fray when you're thinking about, okay, like AI, we have to implement AI. What do we do? What tools? And like, there's so many really cool technological complex things going on, where it's like, when you bring it back to basics, that's when you get the best result.
Yeah, that's it. Because I think I'll give you a final one. I don't think you should implement AI because everybody's doing it. It's cool. Right. You should do it because you see the value in helping you to address your pain points and helping you to reach the goals that you have. That's really the reason why you should, and you choose and which one you're going to use and who's going to be involved.
All right, wrapping up. Thanks, Liz. Everything you shared, from how you use AskHumans, your frameworks, just telling us a little bit more about yourself. Before we sign off, tell everyone where they could find you. Obviously, Liz Ngonzi on LinkedIn, but any other socials or organizations you want to plug?
So Liz Ngonzi, .com is my speaker site. The Social Impact INST.com is the International Social Impact Institute that I founded in 2020. My NYU faculty page, if you just go to NYU and my name, you'll see it. Or I think I have a tiny URL, which is like tinyurl.com /Liz Ngonzi at ATNYU. So those are the ways to reach me. But yeah, I'm not on any other socials. I actually focus on only one because it was just getting so overwhelming. I've been on LinkedIn since 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had been on Twitter, which I guess now is X, like from 2011, and I was on Facebook from 2007. And I just said, you know what? I just need one. I mean, I'm on YouTube, obviously, but that's different. But that's where I am.
Well, your LinkedIn following probably surpasses all of my following on all the 6 socials. So there's no problem with going narrow and deep on one platform. You're doing a solid job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, and you are too. I mean, I think it's so important that, the work that you're doing is helping to facilitate voices being heard, right? And voices move the needle in any decision that you make. That's, like you said, it sounds basic, but the basics work.
the meat and potatoes work.
Yeah, they do.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
definitely do.
All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Liz.
Thank you.
All right. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.